All right, welcome to a One Take Podcast, episode 181. This will be a short podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
This week we're doing Trap. Last week was a 2.5 hour podcast. This
We
week
definitely ain't doing that shit. No.
we're not going to do 2.5 hours on Trap. But I'm going to tweet out the YouTube link here in a second. But how we doing, guys? We're actually 2 weeks in a row.
Because of the way the schedule works, it feels almost weird and strange that those three movies were on one pod, but then Trap gets its own pod, and Trap isn't nearly as interesting as those movies. But our takes are probably going to differ more dramatically on this movie than any of the three movies we did last week with Mo. So maybe it'll be great content, even though it'll be a short episode.
Trap getting the ISO is insane.
It is legitimately
think about the last episode we just did.
Yeah, people have to sort through the slop of whatever the last podcast was, only for this one to be like, clear out ISO.
I didn't even see one of the movies we talked about last week, and we still did like 45 minutes on it.
Oh, yeah, that is true. Tej, how do you feel about Long Legs now?
That first 45 minutes means something to me. Still, I cannot get away from the way that I felt in that first 45 minutes. But that all it does is make me even more pissed off about what we actually got with the rest of the movie. But I still give them credit. I still give them credit.
I'm just depending on like from one thriller to I'll just call it a lesser thriller. Yeah. I was just wondering how you felt. Trap is the new movie from M. Night Shyamalan, PG-13 movie, hour 45 minutes, 6.2 on IMDb. A father and his teen daughter attend a pop concert only to realize they've entered the center of a dark and sinister event, which is weird because they gave away the twist in the trailers for the movie. So
yeah, kind of.
Pretty. I mean, the spoiler for the movie is in the trailer in that he is a serial killer and the whole purpose is getting out. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, but they also tell you he's the killer like 15 minutes into the movie.
True. Yeah. Also true. It has a 53 Metascore, written, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Stars Josh Hartnett making a return, Ariel Donahue as his daughter Riley, Allison Pill, who I haven't seen in a really long time.
I haven't seen her since the Newsroom.
Yeah, exactly. She's of Newsroom fame. And Salika Shyamalan, you may recognize that last name as M. Night's daughter.
The most shameless shit I've seen this year.
Shameless nepotism. And I respect it. I have nothing but I have no choice but to respect that level of nepotism. And the daughter, who is the pop star who is performing at the concert that the Trap is being set at, also has like a larger role. Like she's not just the pop star. She actually has like a meaty role.
Yeah,
and I think she has the hardest role of the movie. Like
she's like the second lead in the movie, or the third lead in the movie.
They put her at the center of the movie for like 30 minutes. It's crazy.
Yep.
And just shout out to Jonathan Langdon for becoming a meme in real time as Jamie. As
even in the trailer, I was like, I like this guy
as the merchandise worker. So shout out to him. This has done relatively good business. Shyamalan does this thing now. I can't find what the cost of this movie was. I'll see if I can find it here in a second.
It was $40 million. I think I saw somewhere.
$40 million. That feels okay. That feels a little bit more expensive than what I think he's been doing, where he's been making like movies for $20 to $40 million and then making bank on them recently. Like I think he did that a little bit with Knock at the Cabin and some of his more recent movies, but this made $21 million. It came in third at the box office. Deadpool just ran over everything last week. Like even Twisters has slowed down in a significant way, so much so the fact that Twisters is going to be released on VOD in like 15 days.
But then it's coming back to 40X after that. So
it's also going back to 40X, and the original Twister is also going to 40X. So I definitely got my tickets to see Twister in 40X.
That'll be
to
cool.
Follow up my Twisters and 40X experience, and I can't wait.
So yeah, it made about $20 million at the box office, $21 million worldwide. It does what Shyamalan is known to do: divide critics and audiences alike.
Yeah.
54% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, 65% audience score. Perfectly balanced, just as all things should be. Let's see. An arc thriller given some grounding by Josh Hartnett's committed performance. Shyamalan's Trap will ensnare those who appreciate its tongue-in-cheek style, while the rest will be eager to wriggle out from it. So, Dex,
Yep, that describes me.
Dex, you tweeted, or not tweeted, well, yeah, I think you probably did tweet, but you just text us in the middle of the movie, great theater etiquette. This is a piece of shit.
Yeah, literally.
So,
when Kid Cudi walked out there in that fucking Valerian blonde wig, I just could not like hold it back anymore. I was already like, this movie was already dragging for me. I think that happens like an hour in or so. The Kid Cudi shows up, and I was already like, all right, man, like what are we doing here?
For a nothing part, like he doesn't really have lines.
Yeah, just gets up there and hums like Kid Cudi hums. You know, if I could get my daughter, if I get my daughter on a track with Kid Cudi just because, like, I'd do that too. Good for you. I respect the shamelessness. You just have Kid Cudi show up for literally not even a full day on.
He has a line that says, "Did you give me whole milk? I said non-lactate milk. You want to make me shit?"
Yeah, he showed up for probably a good 2 hours. He spent an hour and a half getting in a wig and 30 minutes just saying his 2 lines in this movie. But yeah, man, I didn't fuck with this movie at all. This shit stunk to me. I'm okay with them giving away that Hartnett's the killer in the trailer. I think that's fine. It's okay for Shyamalan to kind of not rely on a twist or to rely on you thinking there might be a twist so you feel extra tension. That's cool, whatever. But this movie just asks you to believe that the dumbest fucking things in the world are happening constantly, and I just cannot accept that. Like, y'all know me, I'm a person who loves to shut your brain off and just go enjoy a movie. Twisters, Glenn Powell is shooting rockets into a hurricane just because, fuck it, let's ball. Like, that's cool. But this movie just, at every little turn, when things are supposed to be tense, you're just watching like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. How did that work? And you're doing that for like a character you really have no reason to like or to root for. He's a serial killer. It has the same problem as You, the Netflix show that I quit watching like 2 seasons in, where you're watching and you're like,
You season 2 review coming soon.
Yeah, I just gave up on watching that because it's like I don't give a fuck about Joe. Like I don't.
There were a lot of people rooting for Joe, and I imagine there were a lot of people rooting for Josh Hartnett's character in this movie. I was not, but
I just have stronger moral convictions than those people. Yeah. I don't like. I just don't root for the guy. Like, you know, him supporting his daughter against teenage girls is cool or whatever, but like not enough for me to like overlook being a serial killer, unfortunately. So every time he's like kind of getting even a little close to danger, it feels too easy, and I'm not rooting for him, so I don't want it to feel easy. And like that problem just kept coming up over and over again in the movie. And then the ending is just the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Everything about the ending pissed me off. Like it's just incredibly ridiculous. Like I texted the group chat, the ending would be incredibly cool if I was 7 years old, but like I just cannot. As a person who knows how things work, I just can't accept that. That's the end of your movie. When
you texted us that you were not having a good time, I was like, "Oh shit, that's probably bad," because the third act to me is easily the worst, most strains the credibility of the plot, and at every turn, third act you've ever seen, which is the
what are we doing, man? It felt like. I don't know if y'all remember Now You See Me Too. I tweeted that this is the most annoying movie I've seen since Now You See Me Too. Where
I often think about Now You See Me Too.
Like just everything in that movie is just like Come
on,
man.
Close-up magic.
Everything about that movie, every little like plot twist, every little convenience, you're just like, come the fuck on. Like, what are we talking about?
Everything that I remember about Now You See Me is the first Now You See Me, where everyone was like, oh, that was a pretty decent movie. And then at the very end, they're like, no, but they're actually magic. Like, what? Excuse me?
Everything about the ending pissed me off. We can get into spoilers later, but yeah, man, I wasn't having a good time. And then the third act fell apart. And I didn't even have like enjoying the first act to fall back on, which I think a lot of people do who like this movie. They think the first act is so good that they're willing to forgive the third. And I'm just not there. So this movie gets a D+ for me. I did not fuck with it at all, man.
Oof.
Did you like Josh Hartnett's performance?
Yeah, he's cool. He's fine.
What? I'll talk about this a little bit in my review, but what did you think about? There a lot have been made about the Shyamalan dialogue and how the actors tend to deliver the dialogue, and it varies in his films, but he has a very specific way of how characters talk to each other.
It's very unnatural and gross and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like that, especially like the FBI profiler lady. She felt like a video game character. Like, you know,
and say exposition, leave.
Yeah. She just walked in and she was like, there's a man. He has tattoos. We're looking for him. If he goes to this place, we'll know that he's going to do that. So he shouldn't do that. Like, you know, it's like that's literally just like a video game like narrator being like, oh, this is how the game works. Like, these things will kill you. These things won't. Like, that's so stupid. That's not how people talk. I didn't like it. She didn't feel intense. They never do enough. And then the Lady Raven character, like, she just, once she had to actually start acting, they just give her the dumbest shit in the world to say. On top of her being like not an actress. It just, yeah, just tough.
Did you like the songs?
The songs were all right. Songs are pretty good. The shamelessness of like her like giving your daughter an arena show in this movie for no fucking reason. Like, the shamelessness took me out of it a little bit, but like, not bad songs.
Tej?
I did not have a bad time. I was never bored, but so much of this movie, when you get to the third act, just literally makes no sense. Like, I liked Hartnett's performance. I liked where we were going when we were in the theater. In the venue, it was cool to see him kind of navigate these situations that put him under pressure and to see how he navigated it. And also like raising his kid at the same time, acting extremely awkward. And his daughter has to keep on asking him every 10 seconds, you're acting weird. Like, why are you acting so fucking weird?
Yeah,
like,
what's up, dude?
When he wanted to go underneath, so at one point, one of the guest artists, who I think is actually Russ, I could not tell, but I think it is like actually Russ. Comes out of the middle of the venue through like a lift that lifts him up, and so Josh Hartnett. Okay, I thought it was him. So Josh Hartnett can see where the lift comes from in the middle of the stadium, and he's like, "Oh shit." Maybe I can use this as my escape route. And he's got to try to convince his daughter that this would be a sane thing to do. And also, like, this is in the middle of the actual arena. So everyone would have seen him literally crawling down into the lift. A guy who just like left his seats because people can see from like above because they were down on the floor. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense as an idea. But to see him have to sell that to his daughter and then act like he wasn't being serious when he really was, I kind of liked some of their interactions. When he sees the weird mom that's being super aggressive and she's like, I have a dark side, you know, you don't want to see it. And she's talking to a little serial killer. That stuff's funny. The FBI profiler lady is literally the woman from the original Parent Trap. And I think that she's only in the movie because it was in a movie called Parent Trap, which has the word trap in it. Like, she hasn't been in a movie in like 30 something years.
No way.
So obviously this is a nerdy movie thing that M. Night Shyamalan did just because he's a nerdy movie bro. So there was some stuff that I really liked, but we're going to spoil this, guys. So let me just get the spoiler warning out of the way. We've got to talk about the third act, and it's hard to do that without spoiling it. So if you have not seen Trap, you can keep watching. It really doesn't matter, but if you care about like, oh, what's M. Night going to give us in the third act,
It's not very good, but we're going to spoil it here. So
you're kind of right.
Spoilers.
She hasn't. Just to, real quick, she hasn't really been in a. She's been in a made-for-TV movie, like a Hallmark movie, I think. Yeah, a Sky original, so a British television movie. But it's all been TV series, and she hasn't really been in an actual movie since like 2011. I think you're right. That's crazy.
So it's like those kind of things I appreciate, but the plot of this movie quite literally makes no sense. And it makes no sense in the first 2 acts, but I was having a good enough time to try to ignore that stuff. But when the third act tries to tie those first 2 acts together, it makes no sense. It is a very high concept that's cool, but it cannot stick the landing. I hated the second act. It was nice to see Alison Pill pop up. I liked her. Like every other liberal, I watched The Newsroom. Like I was watching that. Just Sorkin me, brother. Like just sign me up for that. Inject that shit into my veins.
Big O Sorkin dork.
So when she pulled up, I didn't know she was in this film, so it was nice to see her. I appreciate the work that she does, and she's really good at like being like off-putting, kind of nervous, like kind of like nervous girl energy, but she can be strong when she needs to be. That's literally her character in The Newsroom. When it's time to speak up for herself, finally she can find her voice. But mostly she's just nervous and kind of anxious. That plays perfectly for the wife of a serial killer. So I appreciate that she was in this movie, and I appreciated his performance and her performance together. But the last act of this movie quite literally makes no sense. So when the movie falls off a cliff, I can tell you the exact scene. So they're trying to leave the stadium, and Josh Hartnett comes up with this elaborate scheme to get backstage because there's less security back there that will be looking. Because throughout the whole movie, the cops are just grabbing random men for interrogation to figure out if they are the serial killer, because there's only like 3,000 men at this concert, and they don't know what
incredibly dumb fucking thing that we have to come back to, by the way.
So just grabbing every man. As soon as he walks in there, he notices the police presence, and every 10 minutes you see the police just accosting a random man of any given size or race, just a random man, just grabbing him up and be like, come with us.
Because they have like 7 profiles of interest, by the way.
Yes. Like, so they basically everybody in here with a dick is going to be asked some tough questions. And then they set up a perimeter on the outside, so where you have to go through a checkpoint so they can talk to all the men and ask them all the questions they need to ask them. But so he's trying to get backstage. The way he accomplishes that is to lie to M. Night Shyamalan, who makes his cameo, that his daughter has leukemia. And so they get her on the stage with the pop star. And so all of a sudden she's like in the backstage area, and he gets a one-on-one conversation with the pop star. And he basically just tells her like, hey, I'm the killer. He doesn't even try to leave the building. He just like talks to the pop star. He goes, basically, hey, I'm the killer. And look, I got this guy in the basement right now, and I'll kill him from this app if you don't get me into your limo to get me to my house so you can accompany me there. First of all, there's no pop star on the planet that's going to actually go along with that. They're going to immediately try to call the cops. They're going to signal for some help. They're going to do anything but get into a fucking limo with a guy who just told you he was a serial killer. Now you're going to isolate yourself from him. She's got no fucking bodyguard with her. It's just a limo driver who's not in the back of the limo, and her and the dad and the daughter. So they get to the house. There's awkward family interactions, which are kind of funny. It's funny that they're so crazy. The kids are going so crazy over this pop star. Meanwhile, he's just trying to like literally like get this bitch out of my house. The scene is really funny. Then she's like working to not leave the house. So there's like a social dynamic that's weird. Then she goes into the bathroom. And the first thing she does when she escapes into the bathroom is not to call the police. It's not to tell everybody she knows, hey, I'm at this house. Come get me. My location is on.
This is the address that I was just told.
This is the address I just pulled up to, which was said aloud in the limo. So I know the address, or even if I don't know the address, I can literally just click the location feature on my phone and somebody can come get me. That's not what she does. She talks to the guy that's locked into the basement first to figure out where she is. Then she goes on IG Live. She has millions of followers, I'm sure. And instead of telling those people on IG Live, hey, here's where I am, she just says, here's where the guy is. Help me figure out where the guy is, where the trapped guy is, the prisoner guy is, and also like call the cops on my behalf. He's banging on the door. He might be literally murdering his family outside the door. We don't know, which I thought was a cool way of filming the scene of there's so much commotion outside the door. And we don't know what's happening outside the door. But I'm like, okay, every decision that she makes now, it just doesn't make any sense. And also, when she's acting as a pop star, that stuff works fine. The music wasn't for me, but who cares? Like, she looks like she could be a pop star, I guess, even though she looks like 12 years old. But when she has to do hard acting, which is not an easy thing to do, it's not easy to play a pop star, but it's also very not easy to play someone who's trying to play a cat and mouse game with a serial killer. And I just didn't think she had the chops to handle that kind of work. And then
with like seasoned actors, like say what you will about Josh Hartnett, but like he's giving a committed performance.
Yeah, he's getting.
And she's got to be
movies for like 20 years.
To be his counterpart, and she doesn't have it. Like, and then he escapes the cops probably 4 times in this film. In the last act, he just keeps escaping the cops.
And they make less and less sense every single time.
Every time.
He takes the one that didn't make sense for me, and I know we're spoiling this movie completely now, and I'm not even giving my review, but like the one that didn't make sense to me is when he gets out the first time, but then takes over driving for the limo driver, and the limo driver's like, "Yeah, sure, okay,
yeah, sure, go ahead, bro." What?
A person I've never met in my life, for sure.
Yeah,
totally.
But what really made me mad, through the third act, I'm like, hate this. Good performances, hate, all around, everything else. And then what really pisses me off is you find out how the cops figured out who's going to be at the show. So the wife became suspicious that her husband was a serial killer, and so she left a piece of a receipt of the concert tickets at one of the crime scenes so that they can know that he's going to be at the show. I have like 7 questions about that. 1, how do they know that this grown-ass man is pulling up to the show himself as opposed to just literally sending his daughter to the show? They don't know that. They don't know that. 2, if you are the mother of 2 children and you find out that the father of said 2 children is literally a serial killer who's been killing people across this town, especially young people, because the guy who's locked into the basement is a young person for years. You're going to let him be with your daughter alone at this show, 1, but also 2, you're going to intentionally put him in a situation where his life is on the line because the cops are trying to get him. So what if a shootout happens or or whatever could happen that your daughter could be harmed? In apprehending your dad, the daughter could have easily been harmed. You put your daughter in harm's way, and you can't even tell her that she's in harm's way. So now that she's not like, she's like, okay, I'll attend the concert to make sure my daughter's good. They only have the 2 tickets. So dad is at the concert alone with his daughter, but she knows she's putting him in a trap. That makes absolutely no sense at all.
And her not going to the FBI and being like, hey, my husband, his name is Cooper. This is what he looks like.
Here's what he looks like. Here's a picture of him.
He's a serial killer. She just has them like try and accost every fucking man at this concert. Are you serious?
They hand wave it. I'll tell you why they hand wave it with the fact that she literally had no evidence other than the fact that he's a little weird and sits in a house by himself.
And he smells like cleaning products.
Yeah. So like that, she had 0 evidence because he was so good at being a serial killer.
So I'm going to make sure every man at this concert.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure every dude at that concert has the worst possible experience in the hopes that they will apprehend my husband, which they did not. And in fact, not only did they not apprehend her husband, he escapes custody after that about 17 times.
Average suburban white woman experience, you know?
But she poisoned him, which I thought was, okay, this is a good flip. I knew she was not going to be murdered there. Like, she's going to poison him. But the fact that he hates his mom because his mom was a bad mom, I guess, like on top of the fact that the current mom of his kids is an awful mom because she went about this in probably the worst way possible. I just could not get over that. Like the third act just doesn't work for me on any level. I gave it a C. I wasn't bored. It's something that I wouldn't have minded, but I didn't need to be in a movie theater for this. I could have watched this at home and been like, smoked a little bit and been like, oh, this is cool. Josh Hartnett, it's good to see him on screen again. Don't get me wrong. But the last M. Night movie was a banger for me. Knock at the Cabin is still a banger. And
similar review scores to this movie, actually.
I don't think that's fair. I've seen that they're similar.
Knock at the Cabin's so much better.
Knock at the Cabin is much better. This third act is a complete piece of shit. No disrespect to Allison Pill. Not even any disrespect to his daughter. But he put his daughter as the number 2 Scottie Pippen when she was a rookie. And she should have been more like Tony Kukoc in his rookie year. Like, she gets up 4 shots a game, but in her first fucking season, she had to shoot 27 shots in the playoffs. And she just wasn't equipped to do that. That's not the kind of, maybe she can be equipped to do that down the line, but you gave her way too much to do. But I respect the blatant nepotism. I respect what LeBron did with Bronny. but LeBron could fucking never. Because this is not the equivalent of Bronny being the 55th pick. This is the equivalent of Bronny being the second pick and guaranteeing his contract and putting him in the starting lineup immediately. That's what M. Night Shyamalan just did, and I have to respect it. It's nasty as hell, but I respect it, and I would do the same thing because, remember, M. Night Shyamalan's oldest daughter just put out her first directorial debut.
Just a few weeks ago, yeah.
And I can tell you exactly how this fucking movie nepotism shit show happened. They were at dinner. M. Night announced to the rest of the family, hey, you got an announcement for everybody? Guess what? Dad's going to support my film, and he's going to be the producer. And everybody, the mom is crying. Everybody's happy. And the second daughter is sitting there furious. And she goes, fuck you, Dad. And he's like, what the fuck? You don't want to support your sister? And she goes, I've been acting and doing music for longer than she wants to make a goddamn film, and you don't support any of my dreams. And you're never here. And you're always on the road. And now you have to come with our movie, and I don't think it's fair. You need to help me. You need to put me in your movies. I want to make a whole soundtrack. I want a song with Kid Cudi, and I want to be basically the second lead of the movie. And he said, okay, fine. Fuck it. I'm a dad. I'm going to make it happen. I know that he related to the character in this movie of being a serial killer / a meticulously detail-oriented person, which a serial killer and a person making a film has to be. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Every Fincher movie is basically about this. So, like, this is well-trodden ground for male directors who are making movies. They see themselves in the people they put on screen. Obviously, M. Night Shyamalan sees himself in this serial killer dude who happens to be a dad. And that's why this nepotism happened. And I have to do nothing but support it. But the end product is a C. I gave it a C.
God damn, what a dissertation, Tej. that was some bars, man. I will say that I think the movie that came out recently was called The Watchers. I don't think it was really well received, but it did do.
It wasn't. But the trailer fucking bangs, as M. Night trailers do.
And that was directed by his daughter, Ishana Shyamalan, who I believe is older than the woman that's in this film, than his daughter that's in this film. So, but to your point, she had never acted before. She has specifically done music and put out and did some songs for Old and some other stuff and done some music videos and is like specifically, I think, trying to be a musician. So I don't want that film isn't bad because of her. Like I don't want to do that here. It's not. But it is funny just to throw. Yeah, it's like throwing a AA guy into pitch against the Yankees right now. Like it's like, and you have to hit or pitch against Aaron Judge, and it's just like, oh shit, okay. You may get him to fly out, but you never know. To that end, I had a better time with it than I think y'all did. I keep saying that I was never bored. I think towards the end of the movie, I was like, all right, let's wrap this thing up. But I think if you go in accepting that this isn't a real place, like this isn't really Philadelphia, this isn't a real universe that we're living in, everything is Shyamalan's own creation of the world that he lives in, then I think you're going to have a better time with the movie.
Yeah, probably.
I think if you just suspend all disbelief that these are real people doing real things, then you will have a good time. And that's what I did. And I chose to enjoy the movie. I have no other thoughts about it really other than that. I think Hartnett, we saw in Oppenheimer. Now he didn't have as big of a part in that as he did that, but like he was somebody that was sort of maligned early in his career for being good looking and not being the best actor. I mean, you go look at like Pearl Harbor, and he was only like 21 when he made that movie or something like that, but he's just handsome guy doing a bad accent in a movie. And, does he have any range, or is he to be like a leading man? And then he went away for a little bit. He was kind of put in actor jail for a minute because, make a couple movies that don't hit. And all of a sudden people start really looking at if you can watching the game tape, you know what I mean? And I think I'm glad to see him back because I always thought he deserved a better shot at doing some other stuff. I always just said though too that he's way too handsome to have just completely gone away. It is interesting to me that he is 12 feet taller than everybody else in this film. and that's like you just look at him and you're like, movie star, like I get it. So something about like, oh, we got one back from the ether. I always like that when somebody kind of goes away for a little bit. And he was making like Redbox films. I mean, obviously he had some stuff. I think on Showtime he had a series that I'm missing. I'm gonna have to look at his IMDb, but he I always thought he had more to him than what he was given, and he was always in some really good stuff that I appreciated. What was that movie?
Is it true that because he put out this might be revisionist history on the part of him and his team, but he basically said the reason why he was kind of away from the public consciousness for that time was because he felt like he was at a point where the jobs were coming in steady, and he realized that he could kind of lean in and take the stuff he wanted to take and keep working, and work would kind of take over his life, and he wanted to be more balanced, to have time to himself and spend time with his family. And obviously that's admirable, but it was nice to just see him in something as a leading man, because I think he's so talented. He's obviously very handsome, something that only gets remarked upon in this movie maybe once. He does take his shirt off, but like he's an incredibly handsome guy and very talented guy. And I agree that a lot of the stuff that he was given during his quote unquote prime was just not very good. Like Pearl Harbor was set up to be a massive blockbuster. It was supposed to be, and it's just not a particularly great film. It's not a horrible film. Like it was received by some, but it's just not memorable. It's not particularly great. But it was, I agree that it was very nice to see him in something meaty, and hopefully we get to see him more often going forward.
Yeah, he was getting, it was the classic thing of he was getting hot guy roles, hot guy leading man roles, but also not always the best scripts. So he was always trying to choose something like The Lucky Number 11, or trying to work with, he said it got him to be able to work, those bigger roles he was able to work with Harrison Ford and some of the people that he always like loved. But this was in a Vanity Fair timeline of my career video that I watched recently, where he was saying those led to him doing things, but those movies weren't always good. And he always tried to pick, I think, cooler projects. And he was in some certified TNT FX bangers that constantly play, like 300 Days of Night plays on TV all the time. And I think that movie rules. And he was in Sin City. He was in all these really, I don't know, thought-provoking, but interesting projects instead of taking lead hot guy dumb role. And he always tried to do that. But then it was like he denies that he was offered the role of Batman, but that was the kind of stuff that he was in talks with, was like the role of the Brandon Routh Superman in 2006. And he talked with Christopher Nolan back in the day about being Batman and had meetings with him, but didn't work with him until Oppenheimer. But I wanted to see this mostly because I wanted to see how he did in the movie. I think he does really well when everything, when you look at it as everything that when he's not being the serial killer persona is him acting. And it's what I was mentioning earlier, Dex, about how they don't talk like they're real people.
Right.
And so everything that he's doing in that, I think, is really campy and good, where it's, if you look at it as it's all a performance, then I think it's kind of layered in that way. Maybe it's not as smart as I'm making it out to be, but I found that to be funny and good.
Yeah. The question is definitely there of like, is this awkward because it's supposed to be, or is it awkward because M. Night Shyamalan can't write dialogue? And I think I lean more like
it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I felt like it was the former. I felt like that.
Yeah, because they're looking directly, or if not into camera, off center of camera, and it's very unpleasant. And he just frames them up to where no one has a conversation. And other directors do this and have gotten praised for it, where some people have said, well, I wonder why Shyamalan gets dinged for it. And it comes back to
because all of his characters sound like that.
Yeah. But I do think if you look at it as like all the interactions that he's having while he's not trying to sneak out of there, like all the interactions that he has with the t-shirt guy, the merch guy, are some of the best in the movie.
Yeah.
And then I think when
the end credit scene with the merch guy is great.
Yeah. And I think he flips a switch too, of when he's like, it's not the best portrayal of a like a OCD serial killer that I've ever seen, but flipping it to be a little bit more entertaining, a different side of that, I think it goes a long way. And I think his performance elevates this movie more than what it would have been if it wasn't somebody that I think we like as a performer.
I agree with that.
All that to say, him interacting with the lesser actors and stuff in this, it's like, it's tough. It's a tough watch sometimes when he's, again, put up against Shyamalan, when he's put up against even, I'm not sure his daughter's very great either. I think,
in fact, I'm sure she's not.
Yeah. I think he and Allison Pill have, even though the scene doesn't quite make sense or work, I think it's a very good acted scene.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
But yeah, you have to, if you're going to watch this movie, and I think this is going to be a really fun movie for people at home. This is one of the few movies where I'm like, I didn't need to see that one in the theater.
Yeah, I had the same exact thought.
It didn't feel big. It didn't feel like a 30,000 seat stadium. It didn't feel crowded. You know what I mean? Even though this was one of his bigger movies in a long time, the last one was 6 people in a cabin.
Yeah.
And I just think that it didn't feel, the scope of it didn't feel what I think it needed to feel to seem really claustrophobic in a way. It needed to feel more claustrophobic. And also, if you go into it with the premise that like people are going to do the silliest shit imaginable and none of it's going to make a lick of sense, just go with it, then I think you'll have a good time. Yeah. If everybody is going to behave and perform like no real person ever has, sure. It's fun in that way. And it's like people are walking around the concourse 30 deep in the middle of this concert. Did they sell 50,000 tickets to this 30,000 seat stadium? What happened? Why are there so many people not watching the concert?
Also, why are so many random women just like about to pass out at this concert? We just never come back to that. Like,
because it's Taylor Swift.
But like, there's the woman who he like pushes down the stairs.
She was drunk.
Like
hilarious when he pushed that woman down the stairs.
backstage.
I laughed loud when he pushed that woman down the stairs.
Is he like drugging people so that he has outs? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, so
like, where'd this sick little girl come from? Like, did he like go drug some kid off screen? Like, what's happening?
Well, people pass out. I was at Zach Bryan the other day in Houston, and he stopped the concert 5 times because people passed out.
Damn.
I'm not kidding. He was just in the middle of a song. He'd be like singing Pink Skies, and then all of a sudden, oh, we got a downer.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. So I don't know. Right. I kind of believe, but yeah.
Anyway.
I don't really have much more to say. I had an okay time with it.
What did you give it? What did you grade it?
C+. Okay. I had an okay time with it. You'll do worse than watching this movie. I did have a theory going on is that I wanted to talk about M. Night Shyamalan in general, and I think we kind of did an addendum to his career in the last. You can go listen to the Knock at the Cabin episode that we did almost a year ago now, but I had a theory that he had been doing these sort of contained stories. I mean, Split is a bigger story, but the majority of that movie is a kidnap movie. But he had gotten to the point where he could have been in director jail, and then I just had a take that Jason Blum sort of saved his career. He did The Visit with Jason Blum for $5 million. And that movie made $98 million.
What is the plot of The Visit again?
The Visit is the one where this woman takes her kids to go see their grandparents, who they have never met, but she hasn't seen them in a long time, and they go to their grandparents' house without their mother and father, and their grandparents are acting increasingly weird. And spoiler alert, plot twist is that it isn't their grandparents. They're schizophrenic people that killed their grandparents and took their identity.
These concepts are so cool. I'm sorry. That
is a cool concept.
So
if M. Night Shyamalan just keeps making small movies with the coolest concept ever with C-level execution, then that's what he's been doing for
Then he's
most
goated.
of his career, and he's just going to make all the money in the world. Because the concept of Trap is so cool, even though the actual execution of it and the plot makes literally no sense. The concept is so cool that when you pop that in a trailer, people can go to the theaters and go see that. And
yeah. I gotta say, like the next M. Night Shyamalan trailer drops, if it looks cool at all, I'm still going.
Yes.
Even though that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I'm back.
Yeah, it's he is. We talked about that again in the last podcast. Or I mentioned is I think people got so worked up that he was supposed to be the next, the next Spielberg or the next. He was nominated for Oscars, and did he win an Oscar? I'm not sure, but like he directed Haley Joel Osment to being nominated for an Oscar, and it with The Sixth Sense, and people were like, this guy is, I don't know, name the next writer director. He's going to be him, and then he kind of just puts out like genre films, and high concept genre films, and we don't have many people that actually do that. And I think so many people wanted him to be one thing when this award-winning filmmaker, when in reality, it's like, he's just kind of a cool dude director that wants to make what he wants to make. Yeah. He was nominated for best director and best writing screenplay. Like in his second
best
movie.
writer nomination is just so crazy to think back on. So crazy to think back on.
It's crazy how left that shit went.
Yeah. So I think it's if he keeps dropping fire trailers, movie was marketed great, by the way, again too. But if he keeps dropping fire trailers of high concept, middling execution movies, I'm probably in there. Now I didn't see Old, but the other
now
stuff.
You have two of them. So if his daughter's going to keep making movies because her boss is literally her dad, so why not? So you're going to get two Shyamalan-esque thrillers maybe every 2 years, and so the cash register go bring. Like they're making money. People will go see these movies, and he has his finger on the pulse of what people like. And it's not for you to make the perfect movie; it's for you to make the perfect trailer to make me come to the movies. And people are often disappointed with his movies, but they keep fucking going back. And that's what matters in his business. And I have to respect that, even if his hit percentage to me is not very great. When he hits, he has some bangers. He has movies that really work.
I gotta say, like, it just feels like a thing to do. And I'm just not going to stop doing it. Like going to the M. Night Shyamalan movie is like a thing that you do as a movie person, like whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter.
There was a good amount of people in my theater for Trap. Like he is a very, very popular filmmaker making American movies. And a lot of his movies, I agree, you don't have to be at the theater for them, but people are going to the theater for these movies. You don't need to be at the theater for Trap. Trap is going to make a lot of money when it drops on whatever streaming platform that he's using, and he's going to stick him up at the bank again. But people were in this movie theater to watch this movie, and it's doing good business already.
Now, don't take this the wrong way, and I think I got this takeoff before that, like Jordan Peele had threatened to have the same sort of career trajectory as M. Night Shyamalan, but he, in the same way, I think that Jordan Peele is a better filmmaker, but in the same way, Jordan Peele is like, I'm going to go see the next Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah.
Where he had the hit of all hits to begin his career as a director-director, however you want to say that. But, and then has worked in genre since making cool shit.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept, but I think so far it is proven that Jordan Peele is more like this and Shyamalan is like a roller coaster.
I definitely agree with I like the comparison because I obviously think that Jordan Peele is a far, far superior filmmaker. And I think he's making prestige movies that are out of the park. But if you watch a movie like Us, that is a Shyamalan movie. It is very fun for 2 acts. It's got a great concept. And the third act of it quite literally doesn't make sense. Like when you watch the third act of Us, you're just like, what the fuck just happened? I'm so confused. And it doesn't, this act of the movie doesn't fit with the first and second act that I just watched. But I had a fucking great time getting to the third act before things fell apart. That my first comp when I walked out of the movie theater of Us was like, that is an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Banger trailer, movie star at the center of it, great concept, execution at the end. Once you have to actually answer all the questions that the audience has, is complete piece of shit. Like, it just doesn't work. And there's something to be said about being able to make 2 acts of a great film and then have people be mad at you about the 3rd act. Not everybody can do that, and definitely not everybody can keep doing that and keep their audience coming back to the movie theaters. And Shyamalan's kind of alone in that regard, and that should be respected, even though it's weird. It has to be respected.
Speaking of pissing off the audience, there are a few scenes that I want to talk about in this movie.
Sure.
It pissed me off for various reasons. So, number 1, this one didn't piss me off. It was just very funny and like, okay, this movie is extremely unserious.
Yeah, it's an unserious movie. We haven't said that enough. Not serious.
It's extremely
unserious. A very unserious movie.
When Lady Raven is in their house and Josh Hartnett,
end of scene.
Like Josh Hartnett walks up, stands up, and is like, "It's time for you to go now," basically. And she goes, "What if I played a song?" And then like points at the piano,
and the camera whip pans over to it.
Everyone in my theater laughed out loud at that. Everyone was like, "No fucking way!" Like, what the fuck is this?
Some of this shit is played for laughs. There's like comedy in the movie. Yeah,
there's definitely comedy in the movie.
Very unserious movie, and like I feel like that in that scene it was on purpose. Other scenes it doesn't feel as like obviously a joke, but that shit was hilarious. Scene that pissed me off was he like kidnaps her in the limo for the 2nd time, just the 2 of them, and like drives into a crowd in this big ass limo where people, you know, they know that a superstar is in town for a concert, so they're looking at the fucking limo because of course they would, and they see her in this limo, and they like, you know, they all stand in front. I guess they're trying to be helpful. That's cool. And then the police show up and they're like all pointing their guns at this limousine. We talked about how Josh Hartnett is a large man. Josh Hartnett like towers over everyone.
Head and shoulders above everyone else. Yeah.
Did they not see him open this limo door and slide out? It's very hard for a 6'5" man to like slide out of a car and no one noticed that the car even fucking opened.
That's just that the people are standing there. They all have their cell phones out because a famous person is right there, and no one even remotely sees this hooded figure that could not care about a celebrity being 20 feet from him. He's just walking to like that makes no sense at all.
He opens the car door in front of them and gets out of it. Like he's like 6'3", 250 or something. Like what? Like no one saw him get out of the car. No one noticed like, oh, this car door is opening.
This middle linebacker got out of this car.
What the fuck are you doing? What is that? Next scene that pissed me off is like at every point, Josh Hartnett is supposed to be like a step ahead of everyone. He's very smart. He like, you know, is a genius getting out of the strap or whatever. But he corners his wife at home. He's about to murder her. And she goes, actually, let's eat some pie. And he just fucking does it. Like, what? What the fuck is that?
He doesn't even protest. He's just like, well, how can I say no to that?
I'll indulge her. I'll let her eat pie. And you know what? I'll eat some pie too. That makes sense. Like, what? Come on now.
That was the one I audibly scoffed at. The others I can like feign, you know, logic. I can just like suspend logic at all turns with, sure, okay, we've seen that in movies before where he got out and blended into the crowd somehow, even though he is taller than literally everyone. But the stick around, the cops are swarming the house, let's have some pie. I hate that in movies where the guy sticks around a beat longer than he's supposed to. Just go. Just
murder. Let's kill her and leave. And also,
and it's weird we're rooting for the serial killer, but that's why we're here. So, you know.
Yeah. And he like is getting poisoned, but the poison's only effect on him is that he like temporarily hallucinates. And they're like hallucinations that he's already been having, you know?
Yeah, he's already been seeing this old lady who he's already projecting his mother onto the old lady who's the profiler, which is just extremely weird. Like, it's just trippy.
But yeah, the poison has no other effect on him. Like, he doesn't.
He's built different, though.
Yeah, he loses like no strength. He tackles a fucking SWAT.
He gets tased and tackles a dude. Yeah.
And also, the SWAT team fucking knows that he's a serial killer. They know that he's actively trying to murder his wife, like right now, and they walk in with tasers instead of guns.
Yeah.
What are we? And he like tackles a guy and like tries to take his eyes out, and they still just tase him some more. Shoot him! Shoot him!
Police have never used this much restraint.
Also, and finally, like this is the thing that pissed me off the fucking most with this movie. This is when I was like, this is the end of the movie, but I was also like, this is the dumbest shit in the world. There's no way to redeem this. Is you watch him like take off his shirt for no fucking reason. There was no reason to do that. You watch him take off his shirt.
It's because Josh Hartnett's hot, and that's what the ladies want.
You watch him take off his shirt to eat this pie, which there's no reason for him to eat. That's the dumbest shit in the world. And then he gets tased, which okay, this is the one time a SWAT team has ever shown restraint to a serial killer who is trying to murder their wife actively as we speak. Okay, cool.
Except for Dahmer. Go and look at that. But anyway.
And then, so they tase him, and then apparently went and got his shirt, his like button down long sleeve shirt, and they put it back on him and buttoned it up and then put waist chains on him. Like what? So they could walk in from his front door to the fucking van out front, and they let him stop and pick up a bicycle for no obvious reason to them, and he like fucking sneaks a bike spoke into his sleeves that they put back on him for no fucking reason, and then he escapes the chain. Like, what are we doing? Why did any of this just happen? How am I supposed to sit here and be like, yes, M. Night Shyamalan is a serious person who makes serious movies that are good and reasonable, while this man is like just making you take the dumbest fucking leaps of logic you've ever seen in your life for like 10 straight minutes at the end of this movie. I was so pissed walking out.
And not only that, you do have to end the movie thinking that that he's going to get out of 20 police officers that are escorting him to like FBI headquarters.
I mean, he's already outsmarted those guys about 11 times in the third act. Why not a 12?
No, they will shoot him now. He will die.
You have to shoot him.
I'm not so sure.
Like they opened the truck and then what?
He doesn't have handcuffs. Yeah,
yeah, and then they literally bludgeoned him to death.
Oh my god, they beat him with hammers. You know, it's just like,
let's beat him with hammers.
yeah. No, I don't. That's why we said the third act of this movie is it's banana land. It doesn't make any sense.
Why did they put a shirt on him? Like, what was that for?
It's got to look good for the cameras, you know. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about this movie. Y'all want to get your bars off about the House of the Dragon?
Oh my god. Ugh.
My controversial take. Didn't hate it. Overall, pretty good season.
You seem to be alone.
I totally understand why people think that the finale like doesn't work as a finale because we want more information. But I think at least as much as the gripes that people have with the finale, which are a lot of them are fair, at least as much of the reason for the gripes is because we know already that it's going to be 2 years until we see it again. And if that feels like another episode, we could have got another episode, or if we're coming back within a year or so time, it's better. But 2 years is just hard to wait for our show. But it's worth it. And I was never bored during the season. But there's some weird stuff in the finale that choosing what they chose to highlight in the finale. There's just certain stuff that's like, why are we spending 20 minutes in Essos meeting new characters in our finale? Why? Why can't we literally meet these same people in the first episode of the season 3 and spend that 20 minutes doing some cool shit, like seeing this black woman finally get the dragon they've been foreshadowing for the last 6 episodes? We didn't even see her get on the fucking dragon. Like, I don't understand that. I don't get that.
My problem with it is, like, not just that we have to wait 2 years for the next season, probably, but that we know already that they're stretching this out to 4 seasons, and it feels like they're doing that artificially. Like, you know, the first season of this show jumps like 30 years, like from the time.
Yeah, they get rid of Millie Alcock in like 2 episodes.
Like, this shit is moving quick. They're like jumping through time, and then in season 2, they're like, oh, we're gonna hang out for a little bit. We're just gonna keep it right here. And that just feels so artificial and unnecessary to constrain the season like that. They could have given us 2 more episodes, made it a 10-episode season.
It was originally supposed to be 10 episodes. And I know some of this is probably due to the writing strike, but it just feels weird to get 8. And then it feels even weirder to get 8 when you end it like that. And not that you have to have, I think what people really wanted was to see another big battle. And I understand that. I didn't need that because seeing Rhaenyra and Alicent in the same room means something to me. That is my Super Bowl. That is when the show was operating at its highest. And we got that. But we literally had these 2 characters spend the season apart for the most part because of circumstances. And also Daemon was apart from Rhaenyra the whole season, basically. And that stuff just feels weird when you give these 2 big scenes, which are really the set pieces of the finale. The 2 big scenes are these characters coming back together. I enjoyed those 2 scenes. I thought they were well acted, but people wanted more. And I understand that. But I had a pretty good time. I'm not tripping. I'm all in for season 3. But I totally understand why people were pissed off.
Like I said, it's a good episode. It's a bad finale. Like, it just, come on, man. You got to give us something better to go home on than that. Like, the end of season 1, you're like, oh shit, it's about to go down. Like, war is here. Rhaenyra is about to go scorched earth. It's on. And then you get to the end of season 2, and it's literally just the same thing, except the war hasn't started yet. Yeah. Like, the war kind of started, but not really. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're still in the same spot, and I feel like there's no good reason for that. They could have wrapped the shit up in 3 seasons. Them already announcing that they're dragging it a 4th feels like they just don't respect us or our time. So, like, you know, I'm
HBO not respecting you or your time.
They better come out of the fucking gate with a fucking uppercut for the
17
first shot.
People have to die. 17 people.
They better
name
show
I know
the coolest shit ever in that first episode, and their viewership will be right back. But if they come out on some slow, meandering bullshit to set up yet another season, people are gonna start dropping out of the show. So I hope they get it together. I hope that episode 1 of season 3, after a 2-year wait, is some of the greatest TV I've ever seen. And if that is the case, then I'm fully back on. But I enjoyed the season. Overall, good season. But it's industry time now, brothers. We are fucking back. We are so fucking back. Industry season 3 is here. It seems like a lot of people are very excited about Industry. I never realized how many people were actually watching Industry.
Me either.
Because it felt like it was just me. But I am very excited that it's back, and the reviewers have so far been loving this season. We got Jon Snow in Industry. Turn that shit up. Jon Snow's going to sniff a line of coke, and it's going to change my life.
I did send y'all a TikTok the other day about what if Kamala and Walls just, ran on the platform of if you make a TV show, it has to come out every year. If you make it no more 2-year hiatus bullshit. If you make a TV show, it has to come out in the next calendar year. And then we slowly also have to start ramping back up to 22 episode seasons. Like Frasier. It's just like you can no longer make a TV show and then House of the Dragon season 3 is coming in 2026. You can't do it.
Nope. Can't have that.
Nope.
But yeah, I'll be back. I'll be watching season 3, but I think I'm done with TV for the year.
I'm pretty sure I just experienced.
Have you even watched The Bear?
No, I haven't.
I'm pretty sure that there's an earthquake happening right now, like in my.
Oh shit!
I'm pretty sure I just felt an earthquake. It was small, but I felt it.
Welcome to California.
Yeah, welcome, guys. You just experienced an earthquake with me.
Your pool wasn't shaking in the background.
I don't have a pool. Please don't do this.
Look, I mean, I'm saying your furniture.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now.
Oh yes, that's true.
Is the Tesla okay? Is the Tesla okay? We're doing okay.
Everything's good. Everything's good. The dogs didn't even make any noise. Like everything's fine. But my monitors were shaking, and I was like, "Why are my monitors shaking?" And I was like, "Oh, that's an earthquake."
There's like complete side tangent. There's now just earthquakes in Texas all the time too, especially out in West Texas because of certain practices. But I was in Dallas one time. This was a decade ago now, and me and my brother-in-law were up late playing video games. Maybe drinking a little bit, doing some other thing. Who knows? But like we were a little wasted, and all of a sudden, like a magnitude something like 5 earthquake hit Dallas or something like that, and it shook my brother-in-law's house and my sister's house, and we were just sitting there, and all of a sudden we were like, did a car just hit the house? What happened? What happened? And Brandon's running outside and looking around, and like everyone in the neighborhood's asleep, and we're all paranoid, and we kind of just come in and like just sit down and like don't talk to each other for like and then we wake up the next morning, we're like, oh, it was an earthquake. Okay. Earthquakes are wild. You never know like what the fuck is happening. Now, all that to say is like that, a hurricane is coming eventually. You kind of can sense that a tornado could be forming. Earthquake is
literally just happens out of nowhere.
Yeah, y'all felt like probably like the first people to go through an earthquake felt, where you were just like,
yeah,
what the fuck is happening, and is it going to happen again? Like,
we discovered what earthquakes were in real time.
That had to be just like the scariest fucking moment. They're like, what the fuck was that? And then like aftershocks probably happened, and they were like,
yeah,
oh, so this is just life now. Like, this is just going.
What do you mean? There's cracks in the ground. What is this? This is hell. Oh, it's hell. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. No, so I've been watching some Apple TV shows. I watched Dark Matter. Tej.
Nice. Wait, did you finish it?
Finish Dark Matter.
Okay, I stopped at like episode 7. I need to finish that. Did you? A lot of people had problems with the ending. Don't tell me what the ending is, obviously, but did you have an issue with it?
No. I thought it wasn't as well executed as maybe something like the show Dark on Netflix was executed, as far as like time hopping, multiple timelines things. But I thought the concept of the show, and I guess the concept of the book for that matter, it's just cool. It's just cool to do that. And they don't give you any like pseudoscience behind it. They're just like, this is the multiple timelines theory. Go with it or don't. And I really appreciate it. And I just keep saying that Apple is making the best shit in TV, and they need to keep doing that. I'm trying to see what else that I watched on. I finished Presumed Innocent as well too.
Real cinema.
Did
you have an issue with? Don't say it in case someone wants to watch it.
You need to watch that. Yeah.
Did you have an issue with how they resolved it? The final scene, or the whodunit, all of it all? Did you have an issue with that?
No, I kind of felt that it was always going to be what it was. Not that specifically, but it was always going to be
something from left field.
Yeah, it was always going to be, we were going to always loop back to them. I like the way that it kind of resolved itself, and what the question that it asks at the very end, especially with the mother, of like, how do we live with this sort of thing. And it ends on a kind of really dark note. But all that to say, Jake Gyllenhaal, strange person, great actor.
Incredible work by Jake Gyllenhaal. Incredible work by Ruth Negga. The whole fucking cast is just perfect. It's just literally a perfect cast. Bill Camp, Ruth Negga, Skarsgård, those they fucking killed it. I had a great time watching that. Bravo to that entire cast.
Oh,
except for that kid who played her daughter, or her son, who was fucking awful. But everybody else was great.
I did watch Dog Day Afternoon for the first time, and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. I had been trying to watch some. I'm trying to find this director's name. People are going to be screaming at me. Sidney Lumet, because the patron saints of this podcast, the Big Picture podcast, did a Sidney Lumet retrospective of his career, and I had just realized I'd never seen a lot of his movies except for 12 Angry Men. Really?
I've seen 12 Angry Men. That's the only one I've seen.
And so I wanted to go back and try and watch it. Some of his better works are on Paramount. But if you haven't seen Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, Paramount Plus, Ethan Hawke, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it is unbelievable.
That sounds
and it was amazing. His last film that he ever made. Marissa Tomei's in it. Albert Finney gives an incredible performance. I'm shocked it wasn't nominated for Oscars, but it is like such a good crime thriller about two brothers that sort of fuck up a heist. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. I cannot recommend it enough. And of course, like Dog Day Afternoon, classic movie. young Pacino, really, I mean, a brilliant heist thriller as well too. So yeah, I'm gonna that, and then I'm gonna watch Serpico next, I think, from Sidney Lumet. So also, if you had never seen 12 Angry Men, it's probably the best movie ever made. So I don't know what you're doing if you haven't seen that, but I think that may also be on Paramount. Anyway,
it's greatness.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else. I just ranted there for a little bit.
I got nothing else. Y'all know what we're doing next. What do y'all got coming down the slate? What are y'all going to be seeing?
What is next? If we can deep tease that. There's a good point that was made, is that, you know what hasn't, like, a lot of festivals haven't happened yet, but a lot
we
of
don't really have an Oscar race.
We haven't had an Oscar race yet.
We have Dune 2, and that's basically, we have challengers. That's basically it.
I mean, Borderlands is coming out, but I kind of have zero desire to see that. I kind of think that movie's going to be bad.
I'm going to see Cuckoo at some point.
I think I might be in there for Alien Romulus.
I'm in there for Alien Romulus.
Okay, if you see Alien Romulus, then we will definitely do.
Then we have to do it. If Dex is going to watch Alien, then we got to fucking watch Alien.
I think I'm in there.
That looks like the grossest Alien they've put out in years, and you're going to be in it.
I got invited to a screening, which I haven't been to one in a little while because I basically quit writing. But yeah, I think I might be back.
All right, I'm in there for Alien too.
I haven't actually seen any of the Alien movies, so I'm gonna do that first, and then
this one comes between Alien and Aliens. So I would recommend Alien and Prometheus, which is a prequel, and it's some people don't like Prometheus. I think it's fucking awesome.
Prometheus is a prequel to Alien,
yes, and so some of basically the stuff that you're going to see on screen, there are other prequels, but they're bad. Watch Prometheus, watch Alien first, obviously, then watch Prometheus, and just because it's fucking awesome, watch Aliens, even though this movie is set before Aliens.
Okay,
I gotta see Aliens. I've seen bits and pieces of Aliens, but people are like, it's, you know, one of the best sequels of all time. But I have seen Alien in full, and it is. It, like, you watch it and you get why Sigourney Weaver had such a great career. It's like, yep, you know, point forward for the basketball team for her entire career.
My take,
she's gonna work in holes one day.
My take is that Aliens and Alien are the same level of quality. I enjoy them both equally. There are a lot of differences in the two movies, including the directors. James Cameron did Aliens, and obviously Ridley Scott did Alien. They both bangers. Both absolute fucking bangers.
Yeah. So Prometheus, though, is just, it basically asks the questions about life in general, and what created life, but then it just kind of loops around to, oh, this is Alien.
It's like, oh, by the way, this is an Alien film. You're like, oh, shit, I forgot this is an Alien film.
Yeah.
But it's
I do remember Prometheus having just the coolest fucking trailer of all time. And that fucking sound they did in the trailer was just so fucking cool. I don't even know if that's a part of the actual movie.
I might run Prometheus tonight because I've watched Alien and
Aliens. They're all on Hulu.
They're all on Hulu?
Yeah. I watched Alien and Aliens over the last couple of weeks getting ready for Romulus, and I'm going to run Prometheus tonight, I believe.
Ooh, I might have to watch Aliens if it's on Hulu. Oh, they're on Hulu and Max. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
They're on Max too? I didn't know that.
Let's see. Prometheus is on Prometheus is on Hulu, so yeah, all of those. So that has been a One Take podcast. We'll be probably doing Aliens next. We'll probably have a week off in between here because the Colleen Hoover book movie with
Blake
Lively is coming out, so I don't know if we'll get into that. Dex, you gonna be in there for that one?
I definitely will go see that. I'll watch.
I might be in there. Yeah. But I don't know if
Blake Lively do anything, so I'll do that.
I think it's like the hottest people of all time are in that movie, so that's really fun. But we'll have like a week off. I'm going fishing up in Arkansas.
Hell yeah!
So we'll be a week off, but after this episode, and then we will be back for Alien Romulus. You can follow us at One Take Pod on Twitter, One Take Pod on Instagram, One Take Podcast on YouTube. Like, download, subscribe on all platforms. Leave us a 5-star review. Thank you very much. Dex, what are we doing?
Hashtag support Florence Pugh. The new Andrew Garfield movie looks like it's going to be a tearjerker.
We live in time, and give our girl an Oscar.